Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 209. We have been gone for a couple weeks, short little break due to TwitchCon, but we are back and we'll cover anything that you may have missed during that time. My name is Annie, or Annie Fuchsia. I'm a full-time streamer on Twitch, and my lovely co-host is, as usual, Perculia.
Hey everyone, I'm Perk. I run Wowhead. We've continued to have a very exciting time on the site between Classic doing so well and the BlizzCon and recent 825 updates. And we are happy to be back, me and Brightpaw, to discuss everything that has gone on in the last week or so. We've got Murlocs, we've got sad cinematics, we've got Wendigo onesie pajamas. We have a very varied show today.
Yes, those onesies are adorable.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a popular or wait, what is the opinion actually on those? Maybe you know
I think
based on the site.
the opinion is people, it's like a novelty item. People are clicking on them a lot. I'm seeing a lot of funny pictures of people like posing for the in-game cinematics, very serious images wearing the onesies. And I'm seeing a lot of people on Wowhead use the dressing room to find weapons that match them.
Cool. That's awesome.
So I think it's a hit.
Before we jump into the BlizzCon Virtual Ticket rewards properly, let me thank Golric for subscribing. Happened just before we started the intro, so wanted to give him a quick shout out. We do not have Sass here today, so those of you guys who are here during the live show, you cannot tag him to ask questions, but feel free to ask the questions in the chat anyways, and we will do our best to read them as we go on. And the same with all other types of notifications. We'll try our best to keep track of everything. But yeah, it's been a couple weeks, as mentioned, since we were here with TwitchCon in the way, and there's been quite some exciting news. The cinematics, like you mentioned, and the BlizzCon things, and the hype for 8.3 coming here soon.
It's 8.3 confirmed.
Yeah, indeed, indeed confirmed. BlizzCon is coming up soon, so it's an exciting month of a lot of things just coming together.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about the virtual ticket items first?
Yes.
Unlike past years, Blizzard sort of dumped all the rewards on Monday, I think, while many of you were still at TwitchCon. So we learned about the rewards for every game at once except for Diablo, I think.
I actually remember that I randomly saw a tweet from Jack, Automatic Jack.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I saw him in this one scene. He commented the flap, is it called the flap? On the back of the onesie, and I was like, what is this? Where did you get this? And he's like, oh, it's the BlizzCon Virtual Ticket reward. I was like, oh, because I hadn't been home yet, I haven't logged into the game for a few days, and I'm barely keeping track of what's new, so that was quite funny.
Right, so why don't we get into the rewards? WoW has a lot of rewards, which most of you are interested in the most. Starting off with 2 Murloc pets themed after Anduin and Sylvanas, Finduin and Gilvanas.
Yep, Finduin here, right here, and Gilvanas right there. I wonder what their names are inspired by.
They have funny descriptions. Finduin is an unlikely leader of Murlocs that had to step into the role after the death of his father Murrigan, and Gilvanas is known about the true intentions of this Murloc, but her followers are among the most devoted. And they even come with their own little battle pets. The Alliance Murloc has a corgi called Genji, who I guess did not receive healing because it's an undead NPC. And then I'm not sure what the joke is with Sylvanas' pet, but it's called Kevinos, and it's a little undead zombie. So maybe it's meant to be a stand-in for Thanos. Not sure. They also have abilities, Mass Resurrection and Raise Dead, with animations that resemble their ultimate moves in the Battle for Azeroth cinematic that are, really iconic at this point.
So this is the animation or a flash of the animation from Finduin. It looks like this, and from the original cinematic, that's how it looks like. And similarly, let's look at Gilvana's ability. right here. And the original from the cinematic here. So that's pretty cool. Very nice details that I was not expecting to see.
Yeah, especially how they have the little battle pets. I wonder there are two questions. Do we think that they're trying out new tech so other pets will have like little pets following them around and that could be a new collecting game in the future? And does it make sense to have Sylvanas as a collector's edition Murloc, especially with the 825 timing?
I think that's actually, so the first part that you mentioned, having pets, that's very interesting. Although if you look back at some kind of, if you look back at some BlizzCon rewards in the past, a lot of those things have stayed unique. For example, the very old mount, for example, you have a BlizzCon flag on it. There's not really that many real life, because BlizzCon is not really a part of the game, right? It's part of outside the game. It's part of what we do as people who play the game. So having a kind of like real life reference like that directly onto the mount was pretty unique. So having something be unique to the BlizzCon ticket may be a thing. May not get it ourselves on regular pets. And also, wouldn't that be a bit overwhelming too? Because there's already so many pets, and then pets having pets as well, that might just be too much. Or what do you feel?
Oh, you actually cut out there a bit at the end.
Oh, I did?
Hear me, or do I sound?
You sound
robotic.
You sound fine. Did I sound okay on the stream, or did I cut out on the stream too? It might be that my voice activation is yeah. You sounded good. Okay. It might be that my voice activation in Discord is a little bit more sensitive, so I'll be a bit more careful and talk a bit closer to the microphone. But yeah, but I was talking about the pets, how having pets might be a little bit too much. Oh, okay. Okay, Perk is definitely DCing.
I just changed servers. Did this?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems good. You were good for me too before, but
that's weird. Yeah, I just changed servers, so I couldn't hear you. But yeah, so my thoughts on the little pets within pets. I think that Battle Pets has been kind of stale for a while, and maybe this could unlock a different type of collection game where your pets could have little companions, or that you could unlock different customization on them, because we already have that system where, you know, you can give your pet a hat, or, you know, the honeyback harvester, you can give things a fez. So I could see there being a pet customization system to breathe new life into the battle pet system.
I completely agree with the customization. I think customization is probably the next way to go if you want to add something to the pet battles. I think pets, basically, having pets of pets, I think is a bit too much, because I think there's already a lot of pets to collect for people, and there's a lot of pets to level up, and there's a lot of things to do for the pets that I don't feel that they need their own pets. But customization, I completely agree. That would be very, very cool.
If you have like favorite pets, your best friends, you could have like, you don't have to collect new pets, but if you have one you already like, you could have like 2 of them out instead of 1. Or have, you know, your secondary one a little
like
bit
summon
smaller,
multiple pets. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Like, I'm so dedicated. I get to have more pets out at once.
Yeah, maybe if you complete a certain achievement, you're able to do that.
Yeah.
Like a pet battle achievement, maybe, or maybe not pet battle, maybe just pet collecting achievement, and then you can start summoning multiple pets and walk around with them. That would be cool.
Yeah, collecting would make sense, because there's a lot of people who like collecting that aren't, you know, PvPers or pet battlers. So people be like, oh, I have to do all these miserable battles. I just fluffy at the same time.
I realize as well, I actually don't like pet battles. I mean, I like them kind of at the beginning, but the amount of pet battles you have to do to complete the achievements have been so much, and I'm only barely halfway on the 5,000 PvP pet battles, so yeah, I'd rather not see another pet battle achievement and rather a collecting one.
We talk about pet collections and then the cat shows up.
Yeah, she's like, hey, I'm a pet. You don't need multiple pets. What are you talking about?
So the other question was, I saw a lot of people upset that Sylvanas, no, don't knock this over, Brightpaw, that Sylvanas was a choice for a Murloc because she does not look very good at the end of 825. But Blizzard has sort of consistently done that with whatever character is important at the time, regardless if they are good or bad. Like
Mm-hmm.
for Diablo, for example, when the Crusader was a new class, we had a Crusader Murloc, but then we've also had like Diablo and Gramash and Deathwing Murlocs,
Yeah.
characters that were not seen as favorably at the time.
No.
So I get why they're doing a Sylvanas Murloc, although now that we're all savvier, it is a bit weird how all of a sudden there's like a Sylvanas Murloc in game, and I know some licensed like clothes companies finally got their Sylvanas merchandise approved, and it's like, oh, show your Sylvanas pride, and it's like, this
Yeah.
is kind of strange time. She just killed Sour Fang. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think it's anything new. And also, I know some people are like, oh, why didn't they give us a mount? They usually don't give out mounts unless it's a very important anniversary.
Yeah.
Morlock pets were the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And when they actually switched to mounts and then the weird transmog last year, people were like, oh, I always want my Murloc pets. Why didn't I get my Murloc pets? They're unique. So you can't please everyone, but I think it's good that Blizzard is going back to Murlocs.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think last year's BlizzCon virtual ticket was a little bit disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, we got the back pieces, Alliance and Horde, right?
Yeah,
And what
and
else
it
did
was
we get?
the standards.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
could
yeah, the
I
battle
told
standards.
you down. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you could also play the classic demo, but I mean it was
Oh,
four
that's true.
levels,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah, I think it was a little bit underwhelming last year. So I feel that this year's is a lot more interesting. Even if I may not be very happy with what Sylvanas is doing, it's still really cool to see her as a Murloc. And having Anduin and Sylvanas as Murlocs is, it kind of defines what BFA was about, at least for this
yeah,
long, at least. So I think it's very fitting. And I also like the Wendigo transmog items. I think they're
yeah.
really cool as well. So yeah,
We can
I think
show
I'm
them off
okay with
now.
this year's
Yeah,
BlizzCon. I mean, how many mounts have we had as a BlizzCon reward? Isn't it kind of rare?
yeah. It is really rare. We had the big Blizzard Bear a while back, and
Mm-hmm.
then for I think the 10th anniversary of BlizzCon, they did uh the gunship, like the flying Alliance and Horde mounts, and that was about it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
I
haven't
feel
been
like mounts isn't really a norm for BlizzCons.
right. And I feel like you can always everyone has their favorite mounts, but the Murloc pets are like a very distinctive type of pet that you can only really get through promotions. There aren't too many
Mm-hmm.
Murlocs in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that it makes looking forward to the Murloc pet more special.
Yeah, and I feel like Anduin and Sylvanas will forever be very iconic characters no matter what happens
Mhm.
to them. So let's say in a year or two,
Yeah.
somebody who comes back hasn't played WoW for years and, missed this BlizzCon for one reason or another. And then they see this Murloc that looks like Sylvanas. It's gonna catch their attention, like, whoa, like
Yeah.
where did you get that? And I think that's exactly what's cool with BlizzCon rewards. That's what I want to see. So yeah, like if I see somebody with the back piece from last year's BlizzCon reward, I won't even recognize it. Like, or it won't catch my attention. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly how it looked like. But the Murloc is you can't miss it. They're awesome, and so is the onesie. Maybe we should
Yeah.
show some pictures.
Yeah, speaking of that, talking about doing a complete turnaround in transmog, we go from, like you said, kind of forgettable looking, like very pretty but sort of generic capes last year
Yeah.
to they're not this isn't really WoW traditional high fantasy universe, but it stands out and it fits. So yeah, I think that it's a positive over a negative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see I think that if you could buy stuff like this from a regular shop or all of a sudden rewards look like this in game, it might be a little strange, but I think saving them for uh events that you attend in
Yeah.
real life is
Much
interesting.
better. Yes. I
And
would be quite sad if this was just put on the store like there you go, but because it's part of BlizzCon, I feel that it really fits in a way. I think if you look closely as well, you'll notice the little BlizzCon tag, which, as I mentioned
yeah,
before, I think the only other time that we saw a BlizzCon tag like that was the old mount. Or am I wrong? I'm not sure if I missed
uh,
something.
I think there was the Murloc holding the BlizzCon sign.
Isn't
The
that on the
actual
mount?
no, like you can dress up as the Murloc.
Okay, okay.
But I mean, it's still like, yeah, very rare, few and far between items.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I
I
think
would
it's
also
cool.
say,
Mm-hmm.
I would also say that I think when Recruiter Friend came out, you were talking about how Blizzard tries out new types of tech and then applies it to other areas of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that even though this is very different in field than the Recruiter Friend set, we're seeing this, advanced transmog armor style make
Yes.
another appearance with things that aren't just, painted onto someone's body, more interesting uh, 3D sets, interesting elements, interesting textures.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe more of these are on the way, available through different means.
That's a very good point because it is a more unique, new, I guess, tech of some sort where they're working on this. Let me get the picture up again. Was it here? Yes. Like you can see how the onesie is kind of like hanging on the body, so you can see that it's like the things that we would wear here at home. It's not the regular armor that's tight fit onto that body and meant to protect them in some way. It's a very loose style, which we haven't really seen before. And look at the boots as well. It's
Yeah,
like
with the
big Yeti
toenails.
feet. Like that looks so cool. And I think you mentioning or you reminding us about the recruit a friend is perfect here because we saw some new things there too. Like for example, the back piece being a backpack. Like that's
Yeah,
very clever because it makes sense as it's something that you'd put on your back in terms of where the slot is on your gear, and it just looks like a simple backpack instead of a cloak. And I think these are definitely ways that Blizzard is kind of exploring new things. And I think what Blizzard has done, in case you guys weren't here for that discussion before, I feel that a lot of times Blizzard puts something on the store or as part of a promotion or some kind of special thing, maybe recruit a friend, before they put it in the game, maybe to make it feel more special. And then later on, you start seeing more of that in the game. Just simple things like the Serpent mount before MOP was released, and some other mounts too, where they were very unique, but then they became less unique. You start seeing more of that. And maybe that means that these sets will also be a little bit less
yeah,
unique, but not in the sense that it destroys them, but it means that we may potentially get some more interesting transmog coming from in-game rewards, and I think that would be
yeah.
really
Which
good.
reminds me how earlier in the year, Blizzard was talking about how they were reconsidering their stance on transmog and aesthetics, and that they used to have restrictions against you couldn't mog anything silly,
Oh yeah, I
and they were
remember.
looking into loosening them. And
Yeah.
when I see a set like this, you have to wonder if this sets like this were part of the same discussion. Should we
Mm-hmm.
reward, should we make more outlandish sets tied to events, or can we let people deliberately obtain silly things that match that don't fit the Warcraft universe? So I
Mm-hmm.
think those two things are related.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see now this opening the door to funny items from, say, like Hollow's End
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Winter Veil. And it explains why now there's a quest coming for Lunar Festival to make the Flower Crowns permanent transmog.
Yes, very good point as well. I remember that you mentioned it. Yeah.
Do you think that these are going to be on sale as like real things you can wear? Because they did that with the Murloc onesies last year. You've been wearing that one year at
Yeah,
BlizzCon.
I did actually. I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, we never had a Murloc one scene game, right?
No.
Or you
Well,
you
nah,
mean
not really.
okay, you mean just looking like a Murloc, right? Or
Yeah.
okay.
You
Yeah,
you
cuz
could
that would
you
be
could
really
dress up
cool.
as one authentically, but not like the actual Murloc onesies. But when I see this, I'm like, oh my god, they have to make this for people to buy.
I agree. That would actually be really cool because I love those Murloc onesies, and if I can look like a Wendigo, I would love that. That would be awesome. I mean, maybe they would even include the boots. That would be
Yeah,
pretty
they have
cool.
done slippers before. They have done the Murloc slippers,
Oh,
so
really? I never saw them, I
yeah.
think. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think Rudism, the guy who does the stuff with the controllers, they gave him a sneak copy of the slippers when
Oh,
he was leveling up with the dance pad, and then they went on shop, I think maybe last year.
okay. That's
I'm not sure if
cool.
they're still there, but
Yeah.
they were, just like gigantic fuzzy Murloc slippers.
Yeah.
I also wonder, I mean, sometimes you can read hints into this, sometimes not, but I wonder if this will be tied to the theme of the next expansion at all. Like, yes, I know it looks silly, but
Wendigo.
it's yeah, it's like Wendigo, like,
Hmm.
Whomper was like very like Northrend, Yeti, Coldfield. This is a warm pajama suit. You have to wonder, like, are we gonna go to Northrend in some
Mm-hmm.
way? Because there have been hints, like when there was the Mystic Rune Saber and Brightpaw, it didn't totally fit Warlords of Draenor, but the flavor text and the aesthetic were actually reused for a lot of the mounts in Legion in Suramar.
Yeah,
So you have to
that's actually
wonder
true. Mm-hmm.
if sometimes the shop stuff tends to hint at what's coming next in the game as well. And I think they've done things where like some of the mop mounts predicted later patches
Mm-hmm.
as well. But the Legion, those two Legion, oh yeah, then the Iron Sky Reaver that was in mop, but that predicted the Warlords
Mm-hmm.
expansion as well. So you have to wonder if this
Mm-hmm.
is like, I don't know, maybe there's a city, like maybe there's, a explorers league and they're all wearing onesies and warm things in the city, in the inn, something like that.
Yeah, I think that could actually
Makes you
make sense.
wonder.
Maybe some kind
Yeah.
of main city that we will see in next expansion will
Yeah.
be a bit of a cold, snowy area, and maybe we'll see more Wendigos and fit in more with our
Right.
costume. Because
And they
right
won't be
now,
wearing, like a gigantic purple onesie, but maybe there'll be more characters wearing these baggy, warm looking things if they're in a cold area with,
oh my
more
god,
traditional
yes,
coloring.
maybe the original tech of the onesie was actually just very warm, thick
Yeah.
clothing. That would make
Yeah.
total sense. And then they just, made a little customized version of it or like a
Yeah. A
unique
butt
version of
flap.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, adding a butt flap for the onesie version. But yeah, that would actually make sense if they put in the tech for just warmer clothing.
Yeah.
And now, because now they have that tech for every single race, because we can all use this suit. So that's definitely possible. I think that would.
Yeah, when we were getting this onto the website, there was lots of little modifications we had to do. It wasn't just like, oh, one robe fits all, but there were little components that made it fit differently to look good on each individual race, which I found interesting.
Also, it's slightly different for the different races
Yeah,
to make sense. Yeah, and
yeah.
putting that much work into something can't just be this one time onesie, for
Hmm.
BlizzCon. So it does make sense that they'll use the sort of like the skeleton of this transmog in order to make like warm clothing for maybe a cold area. I think that would make
Yeah.
sense. So yeah, maybe
So,
we are gonna find a cold area in the next expansion, and when you do, you can think back to this moment.
yeah.
But then Recruit a Friend is showing a very deserty, warm area, but they were wearing a lot of clothes too, right? But for the opposite
Yeah,
reason, to keep the sun away, not really to keep
right.
warm.
I also think that was Hearthstone expansion related because the
Mm-hmm.
expansion that just came out was called Saviors of Uldum,
Mm-hmm.
and this had a very explorer type feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the Hearthstone team has a lot of WoW people, former WoW developers on it, so they try to not have it be like a strict AU, but try to have playful references to what's going on in WoW at the time. Like their past Dalaran expansion, the game board had Nightborn lilies on it and
Mm-hmm.
references to like the Volpera and Sethrek. So I feel like they sort of just try to have playful references to keep the universes sort of parallel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I guess
before
that
we
could be it. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Before we discuss A3, I just want to highlight the another reward that got a lot of attention on Wowhead was the
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch rewards.
Mm.
Normally the other, other rewards are nice, but people were very excited about this because you have Illidan Genji and Turan Symetra. Um, and people were very excited about Turan, especially because she's missing from the war campaign, and they're trying to read into the description to see if there's any hints as to like how maybe some of the magic she's using in Overwatch is like foreshadowing things she could do as the Night Warrior in WoW. But yeah, they look pretty cool. It's nice to see more WoW characters in Overwatch, and will be interesting to see if they get a map or other things. But yeah, I think she looks nice.
Wait, so these are skins for characters that already exist in the game? Because
Yeah.
I'm not very
So
familiar with
oh
Overwatch.
yeah, so Symetra is a hero, and you can have different skins, and they gave her a legendary skin to look like Tyrande in her white dress.
Oh, okay. I just quickly Googled Symetra to get an idea. Yeah, they look
Yeah.
nothing like the WoW characters, but then
No,
the skin looks exactly like the WoW characters. Okay,
yeah,
that's
it's
really
the same
cool.
silhouette. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I didn't realize that. I thought like Maybe the champions were added to Overwatch or something. I don't play much Overwatch. So I don't really know how the game works, but that's awesome. I think I was thinking of Heroes. Because in Heroes of the
Yeah.
Storm, they'd have the WoW characters as the actual
Right.
characters. That's awesome. So if
Yeah, it's actually funny. I think when we shared it, we got more likes on the Overwatch than the WoW rewards image. I
yeah,
guess people were like, they really
whoa,
they really like those characters.
yeah, I think because it's like really unexpected. That's really good ones. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And there's
Well, I
not
guess
too
I know
many
what I'm
WoW
playing next time I play
characters.
Overwatch.
Yeah, there's not too many WoW characters in Overwatch, so it's still like a really big deal when you
Yeah, good point.
have a way to show your WoW pride.
And Overwatch is a very popular game, so
Oh yeah.
the likes can also kind of explain that too. There's a lot
Hmm.
of people who enjoy the game.
Yeah. So, as to what Blizzard could probably announce at BlizzCon, we all are thinking of course, expansion, but we also maybe got some news on patch updates.
Mm-hmm.
The patch 8.3 showed up on the vendor CDN, and that means a few things. That means that an 8.3 patch exists. I know there was some speculation that it just would end with 8.25 and Sylvanas, flying off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true. There's an 8.3.
8.3
Um,
confirmed.
yep. And we're curious. Usually, when they do this encrypted vendor build, we get the information a few weeks later, either data mined or a presentation. So, for example, for patch 8.2, the initial build popped up on the 4th. And then they did a big presentation on April 11th, and then we could data mine it on April 17th. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get this before BlizzCon or if it's so soon with BlizzCon, they're going to have a panel dedicated to 8.3.
Mm-hmm.
Like my guess would be, I mean, if we follow the traditional schedule, we would have a content reveal maybe next week, but that doesn't seem, I don't know. It seems off, especially with everyone tweeting that they're so busy with BlizzCon, and then I think some of the
Yeah.
devs doing content stuff. They've been on vacation, and if they're on vacation, they're not, planning a reveal. But I think that they're going to reveal the expansion at BlizzCon, and then they're going to say, "Hey, so the last time we saw Sylvanas, she was flying away, and it's a pretty big step to get from her flying away to showing up in, I don't know, Shadowlands." Well, you'll learn what happens in the 8.3 patch, and they'll reveal the expansion, but have the BlizzCon be mostly about 8.3, and continue revealing the expansion details at like PAX or other conventions in the early 2020 winter. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I think the expansion just simply being an announcement and not really going into the details, but 8.3 probably being a major, major patch for this expansion. It's going to be the final patch, most likely, and it's going to tie the stories together. It's going to, bring the end of our Azerites, what will happen to our Azerites, maybe more information on that too. So it's a lot of question marks that have to be kind of concluded. So I think there's going to be a lot to talk about there for them. And like you said, leave the expansion details for probably future events.
Yeah, that's what they did with Gamescom and Legion. They were just like demon hunters, like cinematic of Gul'dan stealing Illidan. And then a few months later at BlizzCon, they gave us more of the info dump and the release date.
Do you think we'll get a release date?
I don't think so.
I feel like they don't have to give us a release date yet.
No. I feel like they're going to just keep staggering stuff out because, I mean, they've been really into that recently. And I even remember with Warlords, I feel like we didn't know when Warlords was coming, and they did a special event in LA, I think, where they had the release date, like they had a launch cinematic, then the release date coming. So I feel like they want to stagger stuff out more between conventions. And also, I don't think we're going to get A3 before BlizzCon because they finally figured out, as we'll discuss on the war campaign, how to hide information from data miners. So not all the plot points would be spoiled. And I really think so close to BlizzCon for the final patch of the expansion that Blizzard will want to like reveal it properly. Like maybe they'll have a cinematic shown and then they'll explain what happens, and that'll be people's first polished reaction to it versus,
Mm-hmm.
oh, look, like Sylvanas has a model that looks kind of pale, and here's
Yeah.
like a Anduin has a frowning face in his new model. What's going on? I think that they want to just have BlizzCon release everything nicely, and then that way, streamers like yourself don't have to worry about, oh my god, should I go to BlizzCon or should I stay at home and you know stream 8.3 or the data mining? Because I feel people did that with Classic. Some people were just playing Classic versus like being at the convention.
Yeah.
So
Especially at the beginning.
I
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I feel like maybe they would just have 8.3 announced. Maybe you could demo some limited parts of it, and then the next week it would make its way to the PTR, but like all the models and unique stuff would already be, revealed at BlizzCon, so data mining wouldn't make a huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'd be fine with. I just want to create good content. If you
Mm-hmm.
give me data mining, I'll, dig into it. If you don't give me data mining, I'll write about something else. It's not a big deal either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with announcements, they'll probably give us the specific date for 8.3, which will probably be soon after the BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably I think with expansion, they might say what season. Like they might be like fall 2020 or
Right.
summer 2020 or something. And they will probably have like a sort of main like overall panel talking about the new expansion and stuff, but probably not multiple panels going into details of multiple things.
Yeah, maybe there'd be one expansion and then one 8.3.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like for expansions, like everything has to be the fall because it ties in, that August release ties in really well with
Yeah.
September and Labor Day, and you want the people in the US to
Yeah.
get hooked on that long weekend. While if you do it in like June, it's like, okay, well, my kids just got home from school or family vacation. You don't get that one really solid push of, uninterrupted time
Mm-hmm.
to just, play WoW like you could with Labor Day and Classic, which I think worked out really well for them
Mm-hmm.
based on the numbers.
And I think most expansion releases are end of summer, beginning of fall, isn't it?
Yeah, Legion was Legion was early fall, August.
Mm-hmm.
So was BFA, that was mid-October. Uh Warlords was November, but I think they tied that in with the 10th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of a weird BlizzCon year because wasn't really anything to announce about World of Warcraft. It just was like, oh look, Warlords is coming out in 3 days. Have fun, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, MOP was late summer as well.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
Cataclysm was early winter, but I think people were much younger then. So the winter at that point was like, oh, if we do it, with people on break from college, they're going to play a lot over their, long break. But now it's like, oh, well, that's over 10 years later. All those people are grown up and they don't
Yeah.
have this nice uninterrupted of, December and January break to
No.
just play video games.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we talk about some 825 stuff because we have not done a show since 825.
Yeah. True. We have some cinematics to
Yeah.
show you guys. Um, oh wait, actually we have a bunch of things. All of these things are 825. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of little collection stuff that I thought you would
Mhm.
find interesting,
Mhm.
especially because you love collecting mounts and pets and they're all related to that stuff.
Yes.
So,
So we make the Black Market Auction House the first
yeah.
topic then?
Yeah, let's do that.
So we briefly mentioned the Black Market Auction House having more rewards before TwitchCon, because there was a blue post where they were talking about how they're going to bring more rewards, transmogs, pets, and mounts, I think. Or maybe they didn't specify. I'm not sure. And we started talking about what we would potentially see. We were wondering what kind of transmog would be interesting enough to put on the Black Market Auction House. And we were, just speculating what could be on it. And I think in terms of transmog, we mentioned challenge mode, which is not on there.
Nope.
Unfortunately, not for now. Maybe in the future. In terms of mounts, they did add two of the mounts that I mentioned that I want on there.
Yeah.
The Undasa and the Rukmar mounts have been added to the Black Market Auction House, confirmed. And there's a bunch of other mounts too. And apparently, lately, or recently rather, there were even more mounts announced, such as some of the Paragon reputation rewards from Legion.
Yeah, so some of the items were included in the French version of the patch notes, and we were able to translate them and then see stuff like, oh, there's Avia's shoulders and Indasta. But then some of them were not included in the notes, but players were reporting them. So, for example, the shackled Urzul from Mythic Argus made its way in, and then the Abyss Worm from Mistress Sazine is also there. And this was sort of surprising, but also the Vile Fiend, which is just the drop from the rare spawn, was there.
Yep.
So yeah, more mounts are coming. We are continuing to update our guide with them. So if you found any more, let me know. But yeah, a lot of stuff was added, including the Ordos drops as well, which I think makes sense because you need the cape, the legendary cape, to get to Ordos, and that was removed from the game. So if you wanted to farm Ordos, you can't really do so.
I always found that really strange. Like,
Yeah.
that they lock an NPC or a mob behind a wall that nobody who didn't play at the time can access.
Yeah, and it's super weird because they named a lot of the items after community figures from MOP. So it's weird
that makes it
if
even more
someone's
weird.
it's like you can't even get your own item.
Yeah.
And the whole quest line is now super relevant with Rathian being hinted that he's doing stuff in BFA. So it's just so much stuff was lost by getting rid of the quest line, like so many dialogue talking about the Titan or being friends with Anduin or like the legacy of the Black Dragons. All that is removed, as well as the Ordos loot.
And now apparently you can pick up some of this loot on the black market auction house.
Yep. Another transmog related news, good for mount collectors, but maybe not so good for transmog hunters, is that Firelands is no longer separated into 10 and 25 sizes. It's just flex, and that's because it's becoming time walking. And you might remember that Ulduar went through the same transformation when it became time walking. And in flex mode, when you have more people in the raid, you get more loot. However, being on flex means you can run the raid twice per week on normal and heroic versus just being locked to it once. So there's pros and cons. The pro is that you can run it twice for mounts, but you know, if you're out of your looking for a transmog piece that looks a certain way, you are now getting the lowest amount of loot on flex difficulty, and running it on a different difficulty won't help you because everything has a different tint.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit harder to farm specific pieces of transmog, but in terms of mounts, you can now run it twice a week. So
yeah,
I think if you're able to make a big group, then it's technically still fine, right?
Yeah.
But you know, most people farm alone, and then it wouldn't be. But isn't there what was that loot type called? The one that kind of makes you get gear not as personal loot, but as, or is that automatically decided if it's a flex raid? How does that work? Like, can't you just decide group loot and then always get the same amount of loot? Yes, that's the term. Somebody in the chat said, isn't legacy mode active?
Oh yeah, it should be for that difficulty, I think. So yeah, that seems small enough for legacy.
So maybe you would get more loot than expected then. Maybe it's not too bad to be alone.
Right. Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments, and people are like, "Oh yeah, don't forget about legacy mode."
But I guess it still makes it a little bit harder for transmog, since you can't target specific 10-man pieces or 25-man pieces. Now they're all bunched up together. So yeah.
Cool.
Wait, legacy mode has all gear drop, but it only works for expansions 2 or more behind, so Legion is not legacy mode loot.
Oh, we're talking about Cataclysm though.
Oh yes, Firelands was not in Legion.
Yeah, so we're good.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So this, and as a reminder, Firelands is going to be time walking as part of the 15th anniversary, which we assume is November, as well as part of the time walking rotation when Cataclysm time walking hits.
Yep.
We have Brightpaw come over here. Oh, he's not coming
Yes, we're gonna talk about cats now, Brightpaw. Don't want to miss
Brightpaw,
this.
baby, come on, baby. He's on a storage box next to the desk, and he's just on his little storage box island, and he's not
No.
coming over onto the desk.
Nope.
We have a cat secret.
Yes, we do.
Big, fluffy, black, stripy cat secret.
Actually looks a bit like Brightpaw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this cat's name is Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
And she has old god abilities such as Tentacle Stab, Foreboding Curse,
Tentacle
and Dark
Stab.
Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And her description is this cat is known for her lies, ignore her sweet meows, which could be threatening, but also just sounds like a cat that's just been
yeah.
fed and wants more food.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she seems to have a very interesting history. I believe a few shows ago we talked about this NPC called Amara Lunastar. Is that ringing a bell?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I've got an image up as well.
Yeah. So remember at the time, people were thinking that, you know, this was another example of an elf Sylvanas raised, and this was an undead elf, and we are going to see these undead elves in, you know, Angramar with the war campaign. And I remember we were discussing this, and we were saying that we didn't think that was likely because the NPC is really lightly armored and looks slightly different than the other elves. This looked more like ceremonial, like it could be part of a holiday instead. And I think we were right because the NPC is friendly to both factions and is wondering about the fate of her pet cat that she left behind. So it seems that she owns Jennifer, and maybe she has some sort of weird vampire or old god's past, and that explains why she looks like a ghost. And Jennifer has weird old god abilities.
Yeah.
So we've started up a guide because there are a few steps, things that are going on, like when you speak to her, you can interact with food and return to Karazhan, and there's some cat kibble. But people have seemed to be kind of stuck really on how to proceed with that.
So the secret hasn't been solved, or?
No, it's people have been exploring things, but it has not been solved. We do not know how to get Jennifer. We also there are 2 new pets with flower crowns in Stormwind that look adorable.
Oh, I saw
not
those.
really like most cats, because when I put a flower crown on Brightpaw, it ends badly.
It doesn't stay there.
No, he like wears it as a hula hoop around him. But it is very cute, and people are still, everyone's, you know, they're looking at every cat in Azeroth to see if, you know, talking to cats, summoning cats, petting cats, doing all sorts of magical things will help them get Jennifer. But the 2 cats in Stormwind with the flower crowns and the top hat are very cute.
Yeah, they are adorable. And that also connects back to what we were talking about before, with pets potentially being getting more customization options.
Yeah.
Because
imagine
if we have our own
pet
pet
flower
battles.
Crown.
Yeah, if we have our own pets, and we're able to, you know, give them different type of hats or maybe other kind of accessories, I think that would be really cool. Maybe even give them some sunglasses.
Oh yeah, would you like that, Brightpaw? Would you like a sunglass? He's asleep on his box.
Aww.
Oh, that could be a thing, a cardboard box toy. And if you have a pet cat, the cat jumps into the box.
Oh, yes.
But it only has like 5 charges because, you know, the cat will scratch it up after a certain amount of time to keep buying boxes.
That would be awesome and so perfect, actually. I don't know what it is
like
with
for
cats
Halloween,
and boxes.
You can buy like a little haunted house cardboard box, and then for Wintervale you have a temporary tree cardboard box, and you can just keep buying them little disposable box toys. Wouldn't you like that? He's pretending to be asleep.
No, that's okay.
So I think we're ready to discuss the war campaign now, but I think before we do, we have some subs, and I think it's a good stopping point because we have a bunch of war campaign cinematics and updates to discuss.
A bunch of cinematics to go through, and I think the best thing is to play them all, right, for people.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's a few minutes at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we still need a spoiler tag because I mean it's on Blizzard's feed already.
Yeah, I don't
But
consider it a spoiler anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, let's thank the people who subscribed. We have Ucher WH who resubbed for 12 months, so a whole year of supporting Wowhead. Thank you very, very much. We also had JD Saphir with the 42 months. That's an insane amount of time.
Wow.
Thank you very much for supporting Wowhead. And we also had Playfair who subscribed with Twitch Prime. So thank you for that as well, and welcome.
So,
and now we can jump into the war campaign cinematics. Should we start off with the For Azeroth cinematic?
Yeah, I think we'll go in chronological order, and this is what you see right at the start with Sourfang and Anduin and many others discussing the upcoming battle.
Double check what the cinematic is called. Oh, it's called the Negotiation. Okay.
Yeah, I think they may have, like, when we did this, we didn't know the names. We were just rushing through it. And For Azeroth is a very popular phrase in it, so we called it that. But yes, the official name is the Negotiation.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to make sure I play the right video.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's watch it together. Enjoy.
Anduin, Sylvanas' actions have threatened us all. And day by day, her power grows. If our world is to survive, we must strike while we still can. Meet with me, and we will speak.
So few.
How many can you provide?
Enough for one final assault. If that fails, we're done. If we end her reign, what kind of war chief will you be?
The horde I joined was birthed in blood, tainted by corruption. The road that led to the Dark Portal was long and wide, paved with the bones of innocence. We called it the Path of Glory. That was the great lie upon which the Horde was founded. That anything we did was honorable. Thrall, Rosen, they were not the true heirs to Blackhand's bloody legacy. Sylvanas Windrunner is.
No. No, this is the Horde. Led by you. Someone who has
honor. I've never known honor. They deserve more. But the Horde is doomed to be shackled by the chains of the past.
The Horde has no exclusive claim to regrets. Arthas, Dalen, the ghosts of the past haunt us as well.
We could not fill the chasm between the Horde and Alliance if we labored 1,000 years. You know this.
Then what are we fighting for?
Soldiers, on your feet!
Start breaking camp immediately!
Lord Sourfang?
Zakan, where is our home?
Orgrimmar?
Not our city. Our home.
Azeroth.
And ours?
Azeroth.
Right now, there are only two forces in this world that matter. One bent on harming our world.
And one that will protect her.
So, what are we doing?
Breaking the cycle.
Yeah, there it is. The negotiation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, that set the tone, and I don't think we expected there to be a cinematic like this right off the bat. I think a lot of people assumed there would be something with the conclusion of their campaign, but not this quiet preparatory one. I thought it was interesting how a lot of the Sourfang cinematics are very muted. Like it's very like slow paced and takes place in darkness. A lot of the other ones have been the same way. Everyone assumes that he's this, great warrior, but we actually see that he's also very reflective and thoughtful as well. And I feel like Battle for Azeroth is all about taking expectations and stereotypes and questioning them. And here, the Horde, like everyone at BlizzCon was like, oh, the Horde, like the honor of the Horde, everyone is very into that. But Sourfang is sort of dismantling that and saying, what did we come from? We came from this really strange background, and we've been ignoring it. And Sylvanas actually acts like some leaders I used to serve as well. Like, we can't just sweep that under the blanket and expect things to get better. So I thought it was a very very insightful, and I think it was paving the way. If they ever go the no factions route, this cinematic laid a lot of the groundwork. How they start off by saying, the Horde have this tarnished background, and then Anduin's like, hey, the Alliance does too. It's difficult to work together, but like, what else do we have to fight for? So
I found it quite powerful as well that I think it was Sarfang, right? It was Sarfang asking Zekon, like, what is our home? And he says Argrimmar, and says, not our city, our home. And the answer is Azeroth. And like you said, if there was any thought or consideration of there not being a faction, then this is definitely the way to pave that path. The what's missing here is, I guess, what we're going to go into a little bit later, seeing what the other leaders think of this. Because we only have Anduin here. I mean, we have Jaina, but she's not really like a faction leader per se.
Right. We have a lot of the Horde leaders present though, like Rexar was there, Zekon. I thought it was also touching how they all start saying for Azeroth, which is reminiscent of Varian at the Legion Broken Shore cinematic. So I thought that Legion was more about unity, and then we got split from that in the Battle for Azeroth cinematic, where both sides had their, for the Alliance, for the Horde moment, and now we've come full circle where Azeroth is the home again, and it's not about the city or one faction.
Oh, I just thought about how on the at BlizzCon on the panels, I can imagine them, instead of saying for the Horde and for the Alliance together with the audience, it's gonna be for Azeroth. That's gonna be awesome.
For Azeroth, for the old gods.
Oh god, yeah, the old gods. And Sarfang even says at the end, because Zekon asks, so what are we doing? And he says, breaking the cycle.
Right, and that played a big role in the Crossroads cinematic as well, because Thrall and Jaina were like, well, we've tried, like, what's going to make things different now? We keep falling into this cycle of working together and then fighting. And then they were talking about, we're smarter now. We need to actively work to break the cycle. And it seems that Sourfang is now part of this as well. I did think it was interesting how Sourfang was all ready to be war chief. Like, I mean, I think us on like on sort of like a meta level, we're like, oh, like Sourfang looks, like he'll probably die a heroic death. But it's interesting how he reached a point in his character development where he was telling Thrall, hey, it's okay, you don't need to be war chief, but he quietly was, made himself comfortable with the concept that he could be the war chief when this was all over. He started up as like a warrior, and then, just taking orders and going along, and he's really stepped up in leadership and maturity. So I don't know, I would have liked War Chief Sourfang. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, I would have liked that too.
Why it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So,
which we'll see in the next cinematic.
Yeah. So I guess we can play this now. This
Just gonna
one is
make
a
sure
bit
I'm playing the
longer.
right one. Yeah, this is a bit
Yeah,
longer indeed.
The Reckoning.
Cinematic Reckoning. Okay, I see it. All right, let's enjoy another movie together.
Varrock, it's time.
Those who defend Orgrimmar are Horde as well. Our brothers and sisters.
These warriors have sworn to fight. For you. Many lives will be lost.
Or perhaps just one. Sylvanas Windrunner! I challenge Makora!
A traitor leading traitors. Why should I accept your challenge?
You want to make me suffer.
Brother, you cannot win.
My old friend. You and I.
We don't get to hide.
I set you on this path.
And we knew where it could lead. Walk with me. The rest of the way. Let it be finished.
The High Overlord falls. I trusted you. And so did they. Death comes, old soldier. And all their hope dies with you.
You cannot kill hope. You tried at Teldrassil. You failed. Hope remains. You set us to kill each other at Lordaeron. You failed. Here we stand. You just keep failing. The Horde will endure. The Horde is strong.
The Horde is nothing! You are all nothing!
For Azeroth!
If you could see yourselves as I see you. Toy soldiers in tin plate. Beasts who howl for honor. Standing as one. Savor it. Nothing lasts.
What do we do now?
We bring him home.
World of Warcraft. And that's how that cinematic comes to an ending.
Wow.
It's an intense one.
Yeah. We have had, like we were just saying, we've had so many cinematics with them that were slow paced and building tension behind the scene. And now we finally get the duel and the large crowd and the massive armies by Orgrimmar. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many points to discuss in this. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the one point I want to start with is what we were just saying, the character growth of Sourfang, how he was in the frame of mind to want to become a war chief, and now he takes it a step further by not just thinking of the same cycle, how he approaches any battle or fight. You know, he's thinking in the mindset of a leader and how to preserve his people. And he has that moment of realization at the start that the people in Orgrimmar are his people as well. And if he can sacrifice himself and show everyone that Sylvanas actually doesn't care about the Horde, that will be better than, you know, endless bloodshed and a chance of him
everyone
losing,
killing
and
everyone.
and half of the Horde being always resentful of him, and then we're just going to start the cycle again of, you know, the two sides hating each other. So by setting himself up for this sacrifice, he really did break the cycle of bloodshed, and now his greatest, most remembered act is this heroic thing he did where it wasn't about being the strongest character in battle, but it was about, you know, doing something for the greater good and preventing needless bloodshed. So I know a lot of people were all upset, like, oh, you know, like, why did, you know, Sourfang look bad in the duel, or he could barely get a hit on Sylvanas, but that was the point. He wanted to bring out the outrage in her, and he knew he would lose. He just wanted to have that show of unity and get her to crack and reveal her true feelings, and that would be the end of the war. He didn't need to, you know, physically win the duel in order to be successful.
And he said it too, right? Because when they were discussing the amount of casualties, he specifically said, maybe we don't need, what was it, thousands? Maybe we only need one.
Right.
And that's when he was going to start this duel. So, you know, the question was, I guess he probably knew straight away that he wasn't going to win. So he was talking about himself. And even if he would somehow win, then I guess that would be the downfall of Sylvanas. So either way, it would be one person dies instead of a lot of innocents. So it was what felt the most right for him. So that was him going for it.
And it was very emotional when Anduin and Thrall gave their weapons to him, because they had a sense that he could lose as well, especially since Sylvanas keeps, gaining powers through whatever deal she has going on. So symbolically, it was a show of unity that no matter what happened, he was given Anduin's weapons, who, were passed down from his father, and then Thrall's axe of Durotan, another symbolic weapon of the Frostwolf clan, and he's wielding these prized weapons of both well-respected Alliance and Horde leaders, which also sends another message of unity to all of the characters watching outside Orgrimmar. And it's also really symbolic it took place there, because for so long, it's like, oh, Sourfang, he's guarding the gates, he's going to whirlwind anyone that comes in. And now we see a more nuanced take at that, how he is saving Orgrimmar by fighting at the gates, but it's about mentally wearing down his opponent, not about, doing this amazing job with his weapon skills.
And we were getting worried about the whole idea of this developing outside of Orgrimmar or near Orgrimmar at all, because we don't want another siege of Orgrimmar, and this was I think this was a nice touch of it. And I wonder what that means in terms of the was it a some kind of scenario that was supposed to be outside of Orgrimmar?
Well, I think the quest leading up to it were it.
Okay, so it's the quest line. Gotcha. Because that quest line made us wonder, like, what does this mean? Like, are we gonna be fighting in Orgrimmar again? So that was pretty interesting too. And
I like how there was a twist, how we just didn't fight.
Yeah.
And we actually got to see Sylvanas being off guard for a change. Like, she's very confident, but we got to see her being stunned that Sourfang actually got a hit on her. Like, normally for so many parts of the campaign, it's like, haha, they did this, but all of the upper hand, and you're like, did she set this all up or not? But here, she seemed genuinely surprised that, he got the hit on her, and everyone was disgusted by her outburst. Like, she did not have the upper hand for a change. It wasn't like, oh, we fought through Orgrimmar, and then Sylvanas just, like, destroyed everyone and ran away and laughed at us. This was an actually refreshing change of pace.
And I think she was taken aback herself, right, at what she said. So when she said the Horde is nothing, and she sees people react and she realizes what she says, it's as if she was kind of like, oh, did I just say that out loud? Kind of?
I wonder if there is symbolism with how Sourfang wounded her, because he got a hit on her eye, and there's so many old god whispers about eyes and gateways between realms, and even when he cuts her, like, her eye is red and her skin has that same weird red glow. Like, she doesn't bleed, it's the same weird magical stuff inside her. So you almost have to wonder if, I don't know, just with all the eye symbolism, it was very interesting how being wounded there was the thing that made her catch her guard. And then of course everyone loves Flaggy Girl, who, when Sylvanas looks to her being like, oh, do I have your support? And she's like, no. So she was a pretty awesome character, and like kind of a good parallel to Zakan, how Zakan was representing like a new generation of Horde that was more open, and Flaggy Girl could be like a new generation of Forsaken that is trying to navigate, concepts of free will and what it means to be a Forsaken, not under Sylvanas' regime.
Yeah, because that's the thing as well. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, like, she led the charge of respect for Sourfang, which I think was incredibly powerful, because she's the same race as Sylvanas, and there's a stereotype that, all Forsaken, serve her blindly, and they love her. And she led the support, and then at the end of the cinematic, you see all the characters in Orgrimmar that were prepared to defend it also sharing their support. So she had a really pivotal role in sort of subverting expectations and maybe hinting at a new path the Forsaken could take, how they can have an identity without being exactly tied to Sylvanas.
Yeah, so basically I was going to comment in the lines of that. That's why I wanted you to finish. Because she might have been involved in the whole thing before, so she may have had an idea of how Sylvanas may turn out. But I'm sure there's a lot of Forsaken who were, just blindly loving her. And now that she abandoned them, I'm sure a lot of them do feel abandoned and will not just blindly love her anymore. I mean, I'm sure some still will do. But I think her leaving the Horde there, I think it's also important to note that she's leaving the Forsaken there too. Or, you know, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. So she's losing a lot of support there with what she just did. And it's going to be interesting to see where that will unfold to.
Right, especially because is she actually okay not needing our support? Because that would be bad, but she didn't really have another choice. Like, she had to fly away.
Yeah.
Nobody really liked her. And she's also, in addition to the outburst, she had no choice but to finish Sourfang off with her blast of magic, which is another indication to everyone that she's not playing fairly. Now, there's been some discussion that in Amakara, like, maybe there's no hard rule that you can't play fairly, but I think with everyone with an old school concept of honor, it looks really bad that, you know, he has a magical weapon and it's glowing and he's getting hits on her, and the only thing she can do is to use this mysterious shadow energy nobody has seen before to take him out.
Yeah.
Which then really spreads the message that, you know, maybe she's been making some pacts with otherworldly sources. It's not as if, you know, like, oh, Sylvanas is suddenly was amazing with her bow and took Sourfang out. Like, it's not normal how she was suddenly like better with daggers and then uses shadow magic. So it just sends a message that things have changed since she was, relying on different types of weapon.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point.
Yeah.
Like relying more on the spells rather than actual skill in fighting. So a less honorable fight.
And I know that she was the ranger general, but it's like she's better at Sourfang in melee combat. Like, it's like, really? That's something must have changed. You know, she in other parts of the Battle for Azeroth campaign, she was, using arrows and in banshee form, but she wasn't, acting like a rogue with her daggers. And now she is. So interesting developments. I don't think she was using Xalatath in the cinematic, but it does make you think how now she suddenly has this new reliance on daggers. So we'll get back to Sylvanas in a minute, but I think we wanted to next show the Sourfang ending and discuss where the leadership could go and sort of the mood of the cinematic and how it's different than Vol'jin's.
Is this a cinematic that everyone sees?
This is, you only see this if you've sided with Sourfang.
Gotcha.
Earlier in the chain.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm, so you guys know as well. So if you sided with Sourfang, this is what you'll see, and if you didn't, we'll show you that cinematic straight after too. Oh, that didn't really work. There we go.
Varrock Saurfang, son of Koruk, supreme commander of the might of Kalimdor, high overlord of the Horde. He led the charge against the Lich King. He defended our world from the Legion. Saurfang inspired all of us to strive for true honor, and his legacy will live on in our deeds.
When the Alliance and Horde marched on Ahn'Qiraj, it was Saurfang who valiantly commanded our combined forces. Today, his courage saved thousands of lives on both sides of the battle. His sacrifice will never be forgotten.
You have earned your warrior's death, old friend. Now, greet your son with honor and glory.
Wait, did I miss something? No, I think I got it. That was the full thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's shorter than the others.
Yeah, I think it looked like it was about to loop or something. I'm not sure, but yeah,
Okay.
that is what you will experience in the quest lines if you've been siding with Saurfang. So you see them, walking back into Orgrimmar together. You see the last words that they have for Saurfang, and you can hear how Anduin also mentions the thing about how he, with the sacrifice, he saved thousands of lives on both sides, for both the Alliance and the Horde, and
Right.
which builds more onto the idea of what does this mean? Is the Horde and the Alliance going to get along now?
Right. It's interesting to see who's there versus who isn't there, because there's so many
Yes.
Horde civilians there, as well as Horde representatives. But then there aren't as many Alliance characters
No.
there. And there's also the notable Horde mission of Talanji, who doesn't really love the Alliance because they killed her father, as well as Sharon, who is, we'll talk a little bit later, but she's also annoyed that they're prioritizing this over what happened to Teldrassil, and now everyone seems to have forgotten about it.
Yep.
So what I thought stood out was the tone of this cinematic versus Vol'jin's funeral in early Legion. In this cinematic, it was sad, but there was a sense of unity, like you were saying. Anduin and Thrall both gave speeches talking about how great Saurfang was, and the camera was on the ground. Saurfang was, laid out by the gates of Orgrimmar. Everyone was on the same footing. But with Vol'jin and Sylvanas, there were a lot of shots where, Sylvanas was like, I will lead the Horde now, and the people were down below and she was above them. So it felt almost like it was glorifying her or making it about who will be the next war chief. But here it's like, that's too early to discuss. Let's just come together to celebrate his life.
Yeah.
Which leads to the question, who could be the war chief?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. They haven't even come to that discussion yet. They're just, busy with the whole unity thing. And that's a good point with the contrast with Vol'jin, because I didn't think about that. That was more to do with, so what next? But now it's like, let's take a moment and understand each other and appreciate the sacrifice that was made. That is interesting. Who do you think? What do you think will happen?
So Thrall is the obvious choice, but he did not want to be war chief. And with Saurfang's line about how the concept of a war chief originated from this very dark history of, Blackhand and Garrosh, maybe as part of breaking the cycle, there won't be a war chief. Maybe there will just be a coalition of rulers together, and we've been seeing more of the Horde leaders have interesting roles. Like maybe they'll go full Game of Thrones and just have a council.
Game of Thrones now in WoW. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, because that would further enhance the idea of unity, right? Rather than having a sort of dictatorship. So that's definitely possible. Do you think it is possible to see a Zappy Boy for War Chief?
I could see him being involved in it. Yeah. I don't know if he'd want to be war chief, but I can't see them just trying to hire another war chief with how it was sort of like it's been tainted by its bad history, and when one of them has a major problem, everyone suffers, like Garrosh, Sylvanas recently. And I mean, even on the Alliance side, it doesn't totally make sense. It's like, oh, this 18-year-old happens to be a human. He will now rule over all the much older adults of their other capitals. So
yeah, I mean, in that sense,
it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, if Anduin can do it when he's very young like that, then maybe Zappy Boy can do it too. Or maybe they'll change the way that the whole system works. No war chiefs, just a coalition, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different branches now and needs. It's not like, oh, there's 4 races and they're all united together. I mean, you have like the Blood Elves and Nightborn sort of as their own little coalition. You have the Magor Orcs that are reconsidering their allegiances to Sylvanas. You
Mhm.
have the original, orcs and Tauren. You have the Forsaken that are now, they're without Sylvanas for the first time. So
Mhm.
there's many diverse groups now within the Horde, and having a council, I think, would make more sense from a leadership perspective. Maybe not an exciting turmoil gameplay story, but it would make more sense to have all these various groups being able to give equal
Yeah, like
input.
everyone has a vote kind of thing. Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
could make sense, and have like one leader for all the different groups within the
Yeah.
faction. I think that could make sense.
Actually, do you want to play the Kalia cinematic next? Because I think that could tie in really well with
Okay.
like discussing who could lead things. Because we
Different
had this
groups.
question of like the Forsaken, in addition to no war chief, the Forsaken doesn't really have a racial leader anymore. So
yeah, let's play that one. I'm just gonna double check the name of the cinematic. It is called Alliance Epilogue. Okay. Just gonna make sure so that, I don't end up playing the wrong cinematic for you guys. That could be quite awkward. Okay. I have it ready. Let's check it out.
Ah, Jaina. What a relief to see you safe.
Hello, Kalia. Big brother.
Word has spread of what happened at Orgrimmar. Is the war finally over?
It will take time for all the pockets of fighting to be quelled, but... yes, I believe so.
Azeroth has seen so many wars, so much strife. I pray we have earned a respite.
As do I. Have you been able to find peace in your own heart, Derek?
I still have some rough seas to sail, but I'm much better now. Thanks to Kalia. Without her guidance, I would have been truly lost.
I'm so grateful you brought us together, Jaina. This time with Derek has helped me as much as it's helped him.
In the wake of this war, others will need to find their footing, their future. Perhaps you could guide them, too.
I'm not sure how much help I could be. I don't have all the answers.
Maybe they don't need answers. Maybe they just need hope. Like I did.
Well said, big brother. Come, let's take a walk. I am so grateful to have you both back in my life. Let's enjoy this moment together.
There it is.
So that was also surprisingly chill and muted for a conversation that could be about grabbing power and leading the Forsaken. It seemed to still focus on unity and how they were helping each other and wanting to help the Forsaken heal. But there's that undercurrent of, okay, so are they going to take over Sylvanas' position now? Are they going to co-rule? What's going to go on with that?
Yeah, very, very good point. It's not really discussed in this scene either. It's like nobody is really caring about the ruling and power yet, because it's as if everyone knows there's more important things to discuss now, and it's more about unity, making sure that everyone's okay.
Yeah,
everyone talking about the war being over.
Right, and also dealing with the trauma of the Forsaken have lost a character who they were sort of, people idolized her because she helped the Forsaken become their own race, and everyone thought until now that, maybe her true interests weren't with the Horde, but she would always have the Forsaken's interest best at heart, even in Legion. When she was doing the questionable things with the Valkyrie and Helya, it was, I want to help the Forsaken still have a shot of life and reproduction, so we all just don't, die out and go to hell. But now there's a sense that the Forsaken have even been abandoned as well.
Yep.
And Kalia does have the symbol of the city on her new model, so I think that she has the mindset that she would like to help lead them. But Derek is interesting because he never really thought about the Forsaken. He was dead for so many years, and now he's back as a Forsaken. I was curious. He seems very happy and thankful that he found Kalia, and you have to wonder, is this meant to show that he's at peace and that he's not under the control of Sylvanas, because everyone was worried that we thought he escaped, but maybe she could take over his brain at some point.
Yeah.
Like, people were concerned that she was mind controlling him, but he seems pretty balanced and better adjusted than he was before.
Yeah, he definitely does. And Kalia says that Derek has helped him as well. So it seems like Derek is kind of finding his place. I find it hard to believe that now that there would be something with Sylvana sort of mind controlling him in one way or another. But I guess it's still going to be possible. But it feels like it's definitely sort of going towards a point of peace in their minds. At least that's how it feels with the mood and the conversation.
This also makes me wonder, could there also be Forsaken for the Alliance now that
with
the
Derek.
two main characters talking about healing and growth are, in Borealis?
Yep.
So, makes you wonder. So,
is that going to be a new allied race?
Yeah, like we were joking with April 1st.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So,
yeah.
We've been talking a lot about like what comes next politically, but we should circle back to Sylvanas, because she might have some ideas that throw a wrench in all of our plans. So we should watch the ending that you see if you've been just supporting her all along.
So siding with Sylvanas leads to this.
Serve the Horde. Champion. I wasn't certain you made it out of Orgrimmar. If the traitors knew of your service to me, they'd have put you in irons. Or worse. Sarfang's ill-considered challenge may have ended the war prematurely, but it doesn't matter now. Countless souls have been fed to the hungering darkness. Though I cared nothing for the living, I did pity the Forsaken, for the great injustice that made them what they are. I understand the cruelty of fate better than anyone. But despite all I taught them, they stubbornly clung to hope, to life. They will learn the truth, along with all the rest. My bargain with Ajara will yet bear fruit. The armies of Azeroth will fight her master, and he will line their streets with corpses. In the end, he too will serve death. Enough reflection. There are preparations to be made. Nothing lasts. When next you see me, you will understand.
Oh, I was muted. There we go. Nothing lasts. A war between death and life. What were your thoughts after this one, Perk?
So, as a side note, I don't know if this made it to the cinematic, but right before it starts, when they discuss preparations, Nathanos calls Sylvanas my love, and we Twitch clipped it, and it has 300,000 views. So, maybe that's the most important takeaway from this cinematic, that Forsaken have feelings apparently now, and I could see this. I mean, it's funny, but I could see this going poorly for Nathanos because, that's a weakness. They're not totally emotionless. They have some sort of capacity for love, and I think if something happens to the other one, it could cloud their judgment. So that was. I know Twitch just thought it was funny, but I think that
it was linked to me a lot
serious
too.
implications.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he says my love, and it's also the way that she talked to him. So I didn't play that part. We could play that one as well, maybe. Or actually, that means
I'm sure everyone has seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Yeah. She talks to him that last sentence, and he ends his sentence with my love, and that's very interesting. Like, what now?
Especially because some of the dialogue options afterwards that people were saying in Orgrimmar were like, oh, they seem so uncaring. I bet they don't love anything. And it feels too on the nose how there's the stereotype that they have emotion, that they don't have emotions, but he or she is actually having emotions. So yeah, a lot of it's funny, like we learn this stuff, but there's still a lot of things to speculate on. I mean, we got confirmation that she has to deal with Ashara, which we could have assumed based on how the Blade of the Black Empire led both fleets to crash. But it was surprising she mentioned Ashara, because there's that mysterious deal with Helya in Legion, and we learned that Helya is back through that island quest. And then Sylvanas also has the deal with the Valkyr that had been bringing her back to life. And if she has the Blade of the Black Empire, does she have the deal with Xalatath as well?
Yeah.
And you have to wonder what the deal with Ashara was. Like, did Ashara want her help to fight N'Zoth? Did Ashara want her help to aid N'Zoth? I think that based on the ending, it's funny how you can think of it going both ways. Like, did Sylvanas want Ashara weakened and out of the picture? So Sylvanas was like, oh yeah, Alliance and Horde, go fight Ashara, so she'll be weakened, so you nearly kill her, and N'Zoth will be freed, but Ashara will be, punished and locked away. Was that part of the plan? Because Ashara does really seem surprised at the end.
Yeah.
You also have to wonder with how Sylvanas is bragging that, N'Zoth is going to serve death and it's going to serve her. Was N'Zoth annoyed with Ashara for setting up this deal with Sylvanas? Was she getting punished for setting this up? So all interesting there. And like I said, there's other deals that we don't know about, we do know about because you're on the quest, but she did not mention, so we still don't have the full story.
Nope.
I also think it's interesting how Ashara had this act of bravado that, she was going to outsmart N'Zoth, and she was, taunting him in the prison, and she was going to be the queen. And it so far has not ended well for her.
No.
It seems like she's been sucked away. And it makes you wonder how now Sylvanas is bragging that, oh, I'm going to first help N'Zoth, but I'm also going to make him serve death, and he is going to be weakened, and the Alliance and Horde will be weakened, and everyone's going to be weakened. It's like, how do you know this is going to work out better for you?
Yeah, because it didn't work for Ashara. Yeah.
Right.
And well, unless they would work together somehow.
Right. But it just seems like N'Zoth is very good at making characters confident that they've actually got the better end and they're going to trick him, and then being surprised when that does not work out for them.
Yeah, because Ashara was also very confident in what she was doing. She was toying with us, really, since the first line when we went to Nazjatar.
Yeah. So you also have to wonder, does Sylvanas want us to fight N'Zoth so we are weakened and then defeat, imprison him, and then try to finally take us over? And you sort of have to wonder, like, does she want to be the Lich Queen? Does she want to end up as, kind of a god of death and just rule over this lifeless version of Azeroth where everything is undead and under her control, and it will be emotionless, but it's better than, how fate has been cruel to her, or how awful hell felt when she died. Maybe the old gods want to, maybe other groups just want to corrupt things, but maybe she just wants everything to be dead instead with her in charge. So, no room for surprises, no room for fate doing things good or bad, just her in this eternity of not having things progressively get worse for her. So, very pretty dark story, the direction it's going into.
Yep. And what is the final goal going to be?
Yeah, there's a line about lining the streets with corpses. And I know some of the earlier 8.3 leaks were talking about fighting in Stormwind, so some people thought maybe it could be related to that. But those leaks were talking about Sylvanas having, all this Horde support, which is clearly not a thing. It makes you wonder if they're going to be going to the city of the old gods. Like maybe we go to N'Zoth City in the Shadowlands, and that's that, because there's also been whispers as well about going to the Sleeping City. And yeah, maybe we go there. We have a lot of casualties fighting N'Zoth. N'Zoth is weakened, but we're weakened as well. And then Sylvanas swoops in and imprisons whoever is left. So interesting. I also wonder if we're just speculating on where the story could go next. We don't know what the deal is with Vol'jin, so I think Vol'jin is going to play a role in the future. Yeah, Vol'jin will be like, "Hi guys, I discovered Sylvanas is is evil." It's gonna be like the guy coming into the room with the pizza and the room's on fire. It's gonna be like, "What happened?"
This was my plan since I said Sylvanas for next war chief. This is what was supposed to happen because this is the way for you guys to survive N'Zoth.
Yeah, he's gonna come back and be like, "When I left you guys, you guys had an empire and Sourfang was alive, and like now Sylvanas is gone and you have no war chief. Like, what did I miss?"
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like Vol'jin is going to play an important role, and also could maybe explain what's going on with Talanji, because Talanji, she was not at the funeral. I don't really see her buying into this, oh, forgive the crimes of the Alliance, because her father died.
Yeah.
And Vol'jin was like an advisor to her, so I could see them interacting. I also think this is wild and out there, but if there's discussions of Helya and the Shadowlands, and maybe Odin would be involved. The warrior campaign and the Halls of Valor was originally meant to have great warriors from Azeroth's past in the Order Hall, and it makes you wonder, could Sourfang now appear as a ghost if we're going to revisit Legion era concepts of the afterlife? So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Sourfang again. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be very cool, actually, because he definitely deserves it for the big sacrifice. I've seen a few people mention Taranda's reaction, and
we're getting to that. Yeah.
We will get there. But yeah, we have some reactions from a little bit here and there. We have some reactions from random Horde people, well, random and important Horde people. We have some reactions from the Alliance as well, and we have some words from Zakan after the war campaign as well. Maybe we'll look.
Yeah. Do you want to play the voice lines of him quickly?
Ooh, I don't think I have the voice lines.
Go if you click on the link, we have a Twitch embed. Yeah, okay. It's like super short.
Okay.
How can me help? Hey, man. Me bringing the lightning and the thunder. The other trolls say I become something called a Mimi. Can anybody tell me what that means?
Mimi?
Me don't steal scenes on purpose, man. The Lord just made me that way. I be honored to serve. Greetings, my friend.
There. Yeah, it was quite short. It was low. I could play it one more time since it was pretty short anyways.
Okay.
Let's play it one more time to make sure that you guys heard it, because I think it's quite funny.
Help?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Me bringing the lightning and the thunder. The other trolls say I become something called a Mimi. Can anybody tell me what that means? Me don't steal scenes on purpose, man. The Lord just made me that way. I be honored to serve. Greetings, my friend.
Greetings, my friend. Yeah, there it is. So, I put the quote up as we could hear it as well, because I did have the quote as a picture. The funniest line that I found, and I think probably a lot of people found, is when he talks about being a Mimi.
Yep.
A meme. He's aware. He knows.
Yeah, the Loa I guess the Loa invented memes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Zakan is Loa of memes.
Yep. There it is. He knows.
So he's hanging out by the orphanage, and periodically the orphans want him to talk about the Sourfang, the heroics of Sourfang. And what's important is that they want to hear about, the giant stories and epic things, but Zakan is like, it's never too late to stand up for what you believe in. Sometimes the world doesn't need a perfect hero.
Yeah.
So, trying to emphasize the sacrifice and thinking of the greater good, not, oh, he whirlwinded everyone in the entrance of Orgrimmar.
Yep.
So that was a sweet update for him, I think. And people were very worried he was going to die because they're like, oh no, he's a typical, young soldier who's going to die. They featured in the cinematic,
nice
time to
guy.
die now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he survived. And I actually, at first, after that cinematic, the first cinematic like a year ago, I was on the fence because I'm like, oh, he comes across like this, naive character that is worshiping Sourfang and doesn't seem to care about Teldrassil and is just, feel good for the Horde. But actually, after seeing him develop, you realize that, Zakan has matured as well. And, obviously has taken great risks by joining the revolution is leading everyone. And like you said, with the whole line about, Azeroth is our home, not Orgrimmar, he's really grown on me as a character.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel the same. It's a very sweet surprise to have something like just be a funny Mimi as Zappy Boy, and then he turns out to be quite important in multiple important scenarios and cinematics. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think next up we want to highlight more reactions from characters in Orgrimmar. As you can imagine, there are a lot of different perspectives, and I think that Blizzard did a good job with this, better than Siege of Orgrimmar, in showing how the city came to terms with what occurred. So, you have characters that are, being like, I don't want to have my business serve this Sylvanas follower, and then a leader swoops in and it's like, oh, we all have to get along now. Or you have characters being like, hey, it's going to take time for my family to heal. I supported Sylvanas, but my son supported Sourfang. Or I thought, where did it go?
I have an example here as well from some Forsaken refugees.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
How could Sylvanas abandon us like this? She's never been loyal to the Horde. No, not the Horde. Us. The Forsaken. We're her people. Not anymore. And the example that you were talking about? Go ahead.
Oh, that was that was the one I was actually looking for.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, this one was Orgrimmar Grunt. You must be saddened to see Sylvanas leave.
Oh, I have
and
that
the
one
refugee says, why? Because I'm Forsaken. Did you shed tears for Garrosh because you're an orc? And the Grunt says, no, I shed tears because he brought shame to us all.
Yeah. There's some heavy lines there.
Yeah.
Random dialogues in Orgrimmar.
I don't think we got any lines after Siege of Orgrimmar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it just was like, oh, we're back to normal now. What I thought was interesting is how you have different lines based on how you treat the faction leaders, if you support Sourfang or not. So if you beat up, the orc that recruited the Maghar orcs as a Sylvanas loyalist, the orc is like, I'm disappointed in your choice, but we have to move forward. But on Sourfang's side, they talk about how, they were brothers, like they were essentially part of the same Blackrock clan. They both did horrible things. And when they regained control, Sourfang went out there and tried to, like find a concept of honor and go out and live his life, while he sort of withdrew and was more depressed. And, Sourfang inspired people to, keep doing something new and giving them hope when they needed it most, hope is interesting because Sylvanas is all about, killing hope.
Yeah.
So, Sourfang was about granting hope.
Because she was disappointed that her people were holding on to hope. And that's quite sad. Like, isn't it good if your people holding on to hope?
I was going to mention them, the Loyalist cinematic. Like, we learned that she is not Team Forsaken anymore.
Yeah.
She's done with the Forsaken. And, there were definitely dialogue moments where, she would, she was very pro-Forsaken. She would, I think even before the storm, people were speculating, her advisors were speculating that she did not have the best interests of the Horde at heart because she wanted to just support the Forsaken. And, all of her, lines, glory to the Forsaken, she was really supportive of them. It's like, what changed? Like, is she fully in control of herself?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in Legion, was she was trying to do things to protect her faction. You know, she thought her life had no meaning after Arthas had been killed and wanted to commit suicide. How do you go from that to, you know, I like being fed up with all of your people?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She was fed up and disappointed with the Forsaken, saying that they clung to hope too much.
Yeah.
Or fell for the hope.
Right. So we've got a lot of we've all the dialogue is in the Wowhead post on the front page if you want to check it out.
There was another one here where they're toasting for Sarfang. I can't believe Sarfang is gone. He kept us safe for so many years. No one lives forever. Least of all a brave warrior like him. To Sarfang. To Sarfang.
Yeah. So one particular event I wanted to highlight was Thrall with his kind of like AU counterpart, Overlord Gayara of the Magheart Orcs. So Thrall was the child of Draka and Durotan, and they were murdered when he was just a baby. And then in the alternate timeline, Durotan and Draka had a more peaceful life, although it did end in tragedy. Durotan was killed by the Lightbound Draenei in that alternate timeline. And their child was Overlord Gayara, who is now roughly Thrall's age. Gayara was supporting Sylvanas more so than the other leaders because, you know, she grew up with this sense of honor and her people were decimated, and Sylvanas was the war chief, so you support the war chief, especially because, you know, of all these horrible things, the war chief is giving them a place to stay, and she obviously has lacked the whole context as to what Sylvanas was doing. And it's interesting because, like, you know, Thrall has a very strong concept of honor, but obviously went in a very different direction from it. And then these characters finally meet up, and you wonder if they know their backstory, if they're going to swap stories at some point.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually, because I don't remember the background properly. Do they know that they are kind of like each other's?
So Thrall never revealed to Durotan, AU Durotan and Warlords that he was his son. They were just they're just a lot of lines like, oh, like, you know, I feel like I know you from somewhere, like, oh, we get along so well, like I like fighting with you, but he never had the guts to admit that. But I mean, Thrall did meet up with Durotan, so he probably would understand what's going on with Gayara more than she would, vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, to her, it was like, oh, these weird adventurers showed up and made a garrison and then ditched us.
Yeah.
But to him, it's like, oh, you know, the timing makes sense, and when he's talking about the mother and father. And Gayara, I know a lot of people were upset that she was supporting Sylvanas. She has a change of heart as well, saying, you know, I know, right, Paul, what do you think of the war campaign? He's like, talk about Tyrande. I am a Nightsaber.
True.
So, you know, Gayara's like, you know, we learned a lesson. Sylvanas was a strong war chief. She did whatever it took to achieve victory, but this was all done for herself, not for the Horde.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's like, you know, a war chief must live and die for your people, not their own. A great leader needs more than just strength. So it's interesting how she too came, you know, Thrall in battle for Azeroth was not helpful for most of it. He gave up on the Horde and he was kind of hiding away. And Gayara, for the first part of Battle for Azeroth, was a supporter of Sylvanas, you know, different tactic, but still not really helping the main mission. And now they are both like more adjusted and in the middle, you know, being more action, and they've learned different lessons. So just interesting parallels with both of them.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they end up discussing the parallels. That would be very, very interesting to hear. Like, would they be considered siblings? Like,
yeah,
it's
like it's also funny how Garrosh in that timeline ends up being like a paladin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he's still annoying no matter what. He's
Mhm.
just a different type of annoying.
Yep.
Like he's working with the Draenei versus hating the Draenei.
Yep.
So our final bit of Horde dialogue before we talk about the Alliance is there is one so everyone is like very big on unity.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a group of Sylvanas supporters that are publicly saying, "We will never be fooled again. If we ever catch sight of Sylvanas, we'll show her what happens to those who betray the Forsaken." But if you are the Sylvanas loyalist route, you see extra whispers that say, "For the Dark Lady always."
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really
it's
interesting.
It's like, so she still has supporters, and why are characters supporting her at this point? You know, like what is like like she said the Horde was nothing and abandoned everyone and ran away. Like why are these characters? And then privately she tells you at the end that she's fed up with the Forsaken.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, like, are people too hasty to move on? Is there multiple problems where there could be, you know, sleeper agents inside Orgrimmar that are supporting her at all costs, and everyone is too rushed to really question and investigate them? And then on the Alliance side, all the Night Elves are upset that Taldrassil is being swept under the rug. So maybe this will cause problems in the future.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting also that they chose the same kind of NPC name as well. It's like former Banshee loyalist. They say this publicly, but then they say this in whispers. So that makes it more scary. Like, how many of these loyalists are like that? Is it all of them? Are they all pretending? Like, what's going on?
Right, and like that is a really... Sylvanas made it seem like she was caught off guard when you talk to her privately, but it makes you wonder, you know, it would be really sad if she flew off and her plan B was to trick everyone into a peace, but have a bunch of her loyalists in the city, and then they would just attack one night and, you know, like try to wrest control back from Bane and Thalyssra and everyone else. So
yeah, it will be interesting if that
hopefully it's not like, it's like, oh yeah, pretend to be loyal and then I'll come back from you and you can attack them from the inside. So I hope that doesn't happen.
But yeah, so now we can move on to Alliance.
Yeah, finally, we were discussing where is Tyrande and does her behavior make sense? So, what do you think? Do you think so? Basically, she is not present in this, and Anduin has a comment that he fears vengeance has consumed her. So, do you think that's accurate? Does it make sense that she wasn't there? Do you think everyone's sort of forgetting what happened to her lands?
I feel like ever since that conversation that she had with Anduin and he kind of like just brushed her off, I think it makes sense that she would be upset and not wanting to do all this other stuff, because, I mean, who would be? If you lose something as important as that with Teldrassil, everything being burnt out and all the innocent civilians dying, and all you're thinking about now is making peace with the Horde. And I think she could come to peace with the Horde if things had been done differently, but she feels like her people probably were completely neglected and like not important enough to be considered. So I can understand her being angry. Like, does it mean that they need like immediate vengeance? I don't know, but I can understand that she wouldn't be very happy with, you know, going from like, hey, we need to avenge my people, being told like, wait, that has to wait a little bit because this more important things is happening, and then suddenly Anduin comes back and is like, actually, we're at peace now. So I don't know.
I mean, she's seen Sylvanas work firsthand. She may have thought that things could end badly. There were some interesting dialogue options from the Night Elf NPCs after, and either like, all this talk of the war winding down, Sylvanas is still out there. Have they all forgotten what she did? Not Tyrande, she is out there still too, hunting Sylvanas and the Thanos. So you almost wonder if she's like, you know, worst case, is Sylvanas going to escape? Someone needs to be out there hunting her down. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is insulting how it's like, okay, well, before you wouldn't avenge us because you were in Dazara lore, and then you couldn't avenge us because you have this war, and now you're not even thinking of avenging us because everyone is happy with peace. Like you can see why she would be very upset, and even Gen Greymane is upset, which is difficult for Anduin because he's been like a father mentor figure to Anduin, but there could be, I could see division where the Night Elves and Worgen are less excited about this peace than, you know, the humans and the orcs. Like Greymane says, Sourfang is dead and Sylvanas has escaped. This is no victory. I care not who leads the horde or if they tear each other apart. All that matters is slaying the Banshee, and we have missed our chance.
I mean, maybe this is a way for Blizzard to make sure that there is a Alliance versus Horde conflict, because with this going on, that means that Anduin can't really... I mean, do you think that Anduin will prioritize peace with Horde than having sort of civil wars in between, like within them?
So I think Anduin wants peace with the Horde, but I mean, Sylvanas is on the loose.
Yeah.
And like, she is still a problem.
Yeah.
That is now, you know, related to old gods in some way with the shadow burst of energy. So I think Anduin would want to take things slowly or be like, let's deal with the old god first. But, you know, to all these other characters, it's like, okay, well, so far we haven't benefited much from your plan, so let's take matters into our own hands. I could even maybe see something where there's 3 factions where in the middle you have, and you get to choose where you have like the humans and the orcs and, you know, Kultiris, like maybe everyone being chill in the center, but then on one hand you have the Night Elves and Worgen that can't forgive, and then you also have the Horde side of people that don't want to get along, like maybe Talanji is not really into forgiveness, you know, she wasn't present.
She wasn't there.
It's like, oh, I meant to thank Anduin for... you know, Anduin was really big on killing the Zandalari. Why couldn't he have thought of some peace, you know, for us too? So I could sort of maybe see things that are split a bit more with fringes on either side. And there was that interview from Polygon where Blizzard said Alliance don't have that same division in their ranks just yet. So maybe now we're getting that division.
Yeah.
And it's also, a lot of the characters don't really have a nuanced take on what happened. So, for example, everyone is quick to blame Sylvanas, like, oh, you know, like, many were laid astray by Sylvanas' lives, you know, we'll do better moving forward. You know, this was the Banshee's doing, we all want her we all want her to answer for it. And it's like, well, there was a whole army with Teldrassil, you know, she gave orders and people threw the Azerite at the tree. This wasn't just, let's put the blame on Sylvanas and now we're, you know, awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Night Elves appreciate this simplistic version of, oh, you know, no one likes Sylvanas, Sylvanas was bad, everything's magically good now. Because it's like, no, like, people followed Sylvanas. Like, even Sourfang followed Sylvanas.
Yeah.
And you can't just move on because, you know, you don't want people following a charismatic leader to burn another city in the future. So I think definitely interesting stuff. I know Illidan and Sylvanas are obviously very popular. Illidan and Tyron are popular characters, and that's why they were, you know, with the Overwatch skins, but it makes you wonder if we're going to see a return to the Night Elf story at some point because, you know, Tyron is still out there. And there's also a lot of parallels between her and Sylvanas, how, you know, Tyron is a night warrior now, and there's some NPC dialogue concerns that can she control such power indefinitely, and she's using, you know, the power of Loon, and, you know, it's like the, you know, it's the Night Elf, the power of the moon, and Sylvanas used to be called Lady Moon and has her own, you know, kind of dark themed power. You almost wonder if they're going to be clashing against each other at some point. I could see that, like, if Tyron's on the hunt for her, I could see there's also NPC dialogue where I think some trolls are also trying to headhunt Sylvanas. I could almost see this rogue group of characters or factions trying to take justice into their own hands and hunt down Sylvanas, and maybe they're not successful, but they kill more of her Valkyrie, which makes Sylvanas, you know, come back and do something even more drastic. But I mean, I feel like they do have to meet up, Tyrande and Sylvanas.
Yeah, I feel like it too. And honestly, at first it felt like maybe she's not really lost. It's just been hard to portray to us what's happening with her in terms of where to fit her in the cinematics. But we even see Anduin asking,
Yeah,
like, where is Tyrande? Like he's wondering too. So it's not just us noticing that she's not being mentioned. She's purposely not being mentioned right now. So
yeah.
I'm guessing that means something will happen with her.
And it was very strange she wasn't present in 8.2 because
Yeah.
she was leading the resistance in War of the Ancients and was one of Ashara's oldest adversaries. So it's very strange that she was not interested in seeking revenge on Ashara at that point. But maybe if Sylvanas has a deal with Ashara, maybe if Ashara comes back in the future in some form again, then we would see Tyrande have a face off with her. I think that would be exciting. But yeah, I'm just curious. I would just like her to come back into the story because I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, where is she?" You know, and maybe we're meant to think that. Maybe we're meant to be annoyed with Anduin and be like, "Hey, Anduin, you're not seeing all sides here. You're just some, young kid that has fallen into battle traps before. Like maybe she has a reason not to be here. You upset her before. Like maybe you should try to think of other perspectives and see how and not take those allegiances and peace for granted." So
we have some more final alliance reactions found.
Yeah, I think we sort of covered them, but
Yeah,
it's interesting how they seem very the non-night elves also seem very hesitant, very skeptical that the peace is going to last.
Yeah.
And there's even some lines about how there's still like storms and weird magical stuff happening on the ocean horizon, again reminding us that the old gods are still around. So yeah, I think that the night elves are the most interesting ones. I'm just getting through the dialogue quickly to see if there's more we didn't cover.
I think there's.
Oh yeah, there's even lines where the Worgen are like, "Oh, that's the second home we lost."
Yeah.
King Anduin's too soft, answering the summons of an orc, grieving at a horde funeral. Careful, that kind of talk borders on treasonous. And what will he do about it? He'd clap me in irons? He'd never. There is also a line about interesting unity, how someone is like, "Oh, maybe I'll go back to the Undercity. I used to live there." And then the person's like, "But I can't because he blighted what's left of the city. That dream is dead now." So there's there's a sign of maybe the two factions want to, some aspects of the two factions could work together.
And it seems like some night elves have slightly different, I guess, takes on it too. Some of them are just simply so tired. Like we have an example here. We nearly had her if I were just a few hundred yards closer. Sorry, not this one. Here. My brothers and sisters still seek vengeance for Teldrassil, but I am so tired of war. And then the other night elf says, "To be honest, so am I. Rage still burns within my heart, but I long to live my life without it." And goes back to the first one saying, "I hope that one day we can." So even though they may want some kind of vengeance, they're also very, very tired of war.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Alliance leadership lines, and some of the leaders are interested in still fighting Sylvanas. Anduin, for example, is less. Anduin is more like, I do not know if I've always made the right decisions in this war. I only know that I did what I thought was right for the Alliance. So he has some self-awareness that he's not the most experienced leader. Ilaria seems kind of tired. It's like, so much blood stains our hands. N'Zoth is poised to capitalize on all of it. We cannot continue to bleed each other dry while the old god watches from the shadows. We must face him with a united front. So, she's very much, not really caring about Teldrassil. Let's just defeat the old god.
Yeah.
Jaina was interesting because Jaina has a line about she has agents that have work cut out for them and that they're tracking Sylvanas and Thanos, and they don't know if they're in the Eastern Kingdoms. When they find them, they're going to make them pay for all they've done. So I think that's interesting how, Jaina is with Anduin supporting him step by step with peace, but she is also still thinking of the retribution for Teldrassil that maybe people don't realize if they're just, watching her at this funeral.
Yeah.
And Chandris has an interesting line, maybe showing a split in the Night Elves, how I thought that we would at last have justice for Teldrassil, that Sylvanas would be made to answer for her heinous crimes. Our people demand as much. There's nothing I desire more than to hunt the Banshee Queen to the ends of Azeroth. But for me to do so would be a disservice to the Night Elves. The spirits of our loved ones cry out for retributions, but those who yet live need guidance and stability. I do not know if I can provide it for them, but I can try.
Yeah.
So you're almost wondering, is she sort of being this de facto interim leader while Tyrande is out there, powering up her, Elune magic? Makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the Caldari are equally split, where some want to, like you said, like they're tired, they want to just move on, while others are upset and wish the Alliance would take a more active role in helping them rebuild.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see how the Night Elves will react with Tyrande together.
Yeah, I hope they don't make her into a villain.
No.
Because it's like, did she go a step too far? And it's like, okay, well, her city burned. So.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that with Sylvanas too. Like, she was pushed far as well. Like, her Silver Moon fell and she was turned into a banshee. Like, she has a traumatic past as well. She could react to things in extreme ways. I really hope
but those were a long time ago, and it's before she was.
Yeah, and it's like she handled things one way, and then over time, suddenly was outwardly handling things in a very different way, as we were discussing with how she doesn't care about the Forsaken anymore.
Yeah. And I think that quite covers most of the reactions, and you can also read about these on Wowhead. If you check wowhead.com, you should see this show on the front page, and there should be text there with all the different things that we've talked about, and you can see even more reactions by random NPCs and important ones too, of course, around the different cities.
Yeah. As far as, I think that's about it with notes. We've been also doing a lot of classic updates, but there's not a ton of noteworthy news besides we have tier set guides and leveling guides. But I do want to just make a quick note that I think by the time we do next show, we're going to have more news, because there's a lot of phase 2 hints coming around. Like Ian did a brief interview that phase 2 is coming still in 2019. And Blizzard made an announcement that as far as layering goes, some realms have reached their final point where there's just one layer, and they want everything to be done with layering. So, I mean, it's all like hinting that it's moving towards phase 2, but we don't have that. Phase 2 is now announcement.
Yeah, like no date yet. But this year.
So maybe by next show we'll have more to discuss on that topic.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely be commenting
guys are
those
still
things.
going along great. We made a hunter pet calculator. Like I said, we released a bunch of guides onto tier sets as well as locations of class trainers, and we gave our leveling guides a facelift with all the new stuff we've been adding to them. We made a guide to warlock demon pets in case people are like, what do I use in all situations? And just generally trying to improve our BIS guides. Like, we noticed a lot of people like using the pre-raid list, so we tried adding alternate sources, alternate items in case you don't have the very best one. Like, in case you're bad luck with a roll, you've like 4 options now to use. So we've been making a lot of updates like that, and so far so good, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. That means that you guys can make use of the guide to anything that might be of help if you're playing Classic. I mean, even if you're playing Retail, but I'm guessing Classic is new to a lot of people, so there might be a lot of questions about, different specs, different quests, anything, maybe class-specific, maybe not class-specific, just anything that you may wonder. It should be available in a guide, or more guides even, on Wowhead.
Yeah. If there's anything you'd like to see us cover with Classic, let us know. We are still looking at feedback. We use publicly available tools to see what types of things people are searching for. So, for example, if a streamer crafts a legendary weapon, we will see that there's like a 2% search increase to that term on that day.
Did you
so
notice
it's pretty
that?
accurate.
What do?
Yeah, we totally we saw an increase with that.
That's cool.
So we try to improve. There's so much to do, but we try to improve like guides and articles based on what people seem to be searching
Interested
for
in.
in those past few days. So we still have a few more guide updates planned, but we're always open to feedback for new types of guides.
Yes. Somebody in the chat says Darkmoon Fair is on. Is that true?
Yeah, we actually, I'm not writing this because I worked the whole day, and it's a Sunday, but yeah, the Darkmoon Fair is here, and it's good for the Honeyback Harvester rep grind.
Yeah, because you get the 10% reputation bonus.
Yeah, somebody not me is writing that post up. So hint, hint, Wowhead content chat. I sent them a message before the show being like, hi, someone's going to write this, and someone needs to write this.
yeah, Darkmoon Fair is on, so you can use that for a reputation bonus or experience bonus if you're planning to level allied races or just alts in general. That's really useful. Brewfest just ended, so can't talk that much about it. But there were some items in there as well that might have been interesting for people. I know I missed it because I was traveling to TwitchCon, but just as a by the way.
Hollow's End is coming up. I think there's some new things. I'm not sure, but there
maybe new Hearthstone.
It seems that if Brewfest. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I feel like most of the events now have new Hearthstones.
Yeah, let me see when that starts. Is it this week? No, Hollow's End starts on the 18th, and today's the 6th, so probably have a show before then.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, I guess they didn't do it in time, but Hollow's End is like very pro Sylvanas and Forsaken.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and I feel like so many, like the Wickerman bonfire and the things in Undercity, and how a lot of the statues of Sylvanas have witch hats on them for Hollow's End. All that's phased now, so it would be interesting if there was a quest being like, how do the Forsaken celebrate Hollow's End and their spirit of free will in this post BFA world?
I see a message in the chat that says the rep increase doesn't help. You still need a mature bee to get the mount, which takes the same amount of jellies. So as a human, I had to keep turning in jellies after Exalted to mature my bee in order to get the mount. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't tried this yet, so I don't know. But that's an interesting thing to mention. I can definitely look into that.
Yeah. I will check the people sending me DMs asking me to cover to see if they noted that or not. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because maybe that's because you're human and you have the rep bonus, and then it becomes too much reputation bonus. That's interesting. Good to know. Thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it with all the things that we wanted to cover for today. Unless there's something that you still wanted to mention.
No, I think we're good. I appreciate everyone handling our erratic schedules. We're trying to make it work between what works for me and my other meetings during the day, and then Annie with her traveling and really awesome opportunity Twitch gave her with the content featuring program. But we hope that whenever we are able to do the show, you all appreciate it and the images and the discussion. So
yeah, we love doing this, and it's more awesome for you guys if we can keep the schedule, as consistent as possible. So we always do our best to keep it on the same day. The only things that normally stop us are things like, Twitch promotions, which is not completely in our hands, and travels, of course, for events. But after BlizzCon, I'm not traveling for quite a few months, so we should have a very, very good, consistent schedule after that. So that's nice. I was thinking about it the other day because people were asking, okay, well, after BlizzCon, what's your next event? And I'm like, I don't think there is an event for a long time after that, which is nice. I like being at home.
Your event is playing with Luna.
yes, exactly. So that's going to be nice. I also see a question from Ashalina in the chat. He or she says, is it normal now that when I look up items from vanilla, it automatically sends me to classic Wowhead? Sounds good.
Yeah, so it we had this issue when Classic WoW came out that people were they were searching on BFA Wowhead for items and then getting upset when it showed the wrong info and thinking Wowhead was wrong.
Yeah.
And we were trying all sorts of things to tell people we also had a Classic database. And it suddenly became easier just to automatically redirect people to Classic. But then if you click on the send me to BFA option, the checkbox, it should remember your settings and not keep redirecting you to Classic for further items in that item range. But it is intended because, I mean, we were getting like roasted by people for having like wrong quest info or wrong item stats. And it just was like literally like 80% of people were on the wrong page.
Yeah.
So,
I think
it's not the most elegant solution, but
it's probably the best one, percentage-wise, because most people who are looking for those old quests and old items are probably looking up those things because of Classic. So I think it would make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be confusing for people who are looking those items up for retail, but I'm sure that's a smaller percentage of people.
Yeah. And it's like I said, like if you tell the site that you want to see the BFA page instead, it should remember that for similar pages moving forward. So if you have issue where if you feel like you're looking up all these items and you keep being sent to Classic, that's a bug. Like we changed it so you wouldn't be constantly sent back to Classic if you specified you didn't want that. Now, if you're clearing your cookies all the time, the site can't remember your preferences. But
otherwise it should.
Right. Yeah. So you can email feedback at Wowhead if you want to troubleshoot further. But yeah, it initially was intended because, I mean, I can't tell you how many times on Reddit I've seen a thread where it's like, Wowhead said they were going to make a Classic database, but they didn't. I just see BFA shit on their quest page. And it's like, oh, you have to go to classicwowhead.com. Like, it kept coming up enough times. It wasn't someone being malicious. It just was people
were legitimately confused. Yeah.
That there were like 2 sites on Wowhead, not, just one site.
Yeah. It makes sense.
So, and Google as well. I mean, Google is not the smartest algorithm. Google is like, oh, regular Wowhead, that's been around 15 years. When people type in, name of quest, I'll send them to regular Wowhead.
Yep. Like Classic Wowhead. No, that's new. Never mind that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was sort of an emergency measure just with how the algorithm was kind of annoying. And it was really scary, like the day of Classic launch, to have like hundreds of people on this quest page, and it just says in red text, this was removed in Cataclysm, and the rewards have like versatility on them, and like the map is wrong, and it's like, oh god, like just move these people off of the page. Let's just auto redirect them onto the right page.
Yep.
So yeah,
I think it's a pretty good solution, and if hopefully people start ticking those little boxes, then it should make more sense with them as well in terms of what website is prioritized for them.
Yeah, and it's not for all items, it's just for a very specific range of items and quests in a certain range.
Yeah.
That are just the Classic stuff. So if you look up something from Wrath or Burning Crusade, you won't be redirected to Classic.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for us for today, everyone. That is it. Hopefully next week we'll have some more information and stuff. Probably not 8.3 yet, as we're expecting that to be BlizzCon. It's funny because we didn't expect 8.25 to be out so soon, but then it didn't.
No, that just sort of appeared. But, I mean, to be fair, there's not much to 8.25. And Recruiter Friend is just like,
just disappeared.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have some more words on that by next week. Who knows? Maybe Blizzard will let us know what's going on.
Right.
Thank you to everyone for watching, for supporting. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to press follow on the stream. We always stream these shows. We also archive them, or I'm not sure if archive is the correct word. We also put them up on YouTube straight after. So in case you missed part of the show or the whole show, you can always check on YouTube with a specific Wowhead Weekly playlist to watch all of the different news. In case let's say you're gone for a month and you want to see what happened, then you can go back and check out 4 of the episodes.
Yeah, if you want to see the cat do something.
If you want to see Brightpaw on a weekly basis, that's also a great way to do so. So feel free to do that, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you very much for the support, all the subs. Ooh, Luna coming by to say hi.
Luna. Come on, Breakpoint.
Hey, Luna. All the subs, all the people in chat, and all the people supporting on Wowhead as well with Wowhead Premium. Thank you to all of you guys for making this possible, and we'll see you next week with next week's news.
Yep. Oh, we need to do our high five.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
We did it!
Yay!
And Luna's sitting on her tree here. Oh, she's gone. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
And if you guys follow us on Twitter, you'll be updated with our schedules, since the whole Twitch promotion thing might make things a little bit of a question mark. We don't know what's going to happen this month yet, if we're going back to Thursdays or not. But Perk, yours is just simply Perculia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting both of our Twitters here in the chat. We will tell you guys when Wowhead Weekly is on again, and you can also just simply follow this channel, and then you'll be notified.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have some cool stuff to share in future shows. Like, Blizzard was kind enough to send us some copies of their new books to review, like the cinematic and pop-up one. I just reviewed it via a PDF, gigantic, amazing PDF I was sent, but I believe I'm getting actual copies of the books, so
that would be
we
awesome.
will have a lot of fun showing them off on the show.
Indeed. Indeed. And with that, we are gone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.